Almost 2,000 normal children die on this planet because of a preventable injury. And these can be injuries which are kind of fall from height, road traffic accidents, swallowing some household poisons. So these are preventable injuries.
So, doctor, a lot of teenagers, especially around my age, tend to be on social media most of the time. They spend most of the time on social media and on their phones. What advice would you give to these teenagers to get rid of the social media addiction?
Even when you are on social media, you lose track of time. Social media acts in another way is that it makes you a very anxious generation. What you see on social media is a highly curated highlight of somebody's life. Okay, it's not real.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the third episode of Trio Tales. Today, we're honored to be accompanied by Dr. Chetan. Dr. Chetan is a pediatrician with over 20 years of experience in child health and development. He's also currently serving as the Director of Pediatrics and Pediatric Super Specialty at Manipal Hospitals. He's also led major health events at hospitals all over Bangalore. Apart from his medical expertise, Dr. Chetan is also a published author. He's also taken multiple initiatives towards child safety. Hello, doctor. How are you?
I'm doing fine, and thank you for the invitation. Thank you to be part of this Trio Tales initiative.
Doctor, I've heard you published a book. So could you tell us a little about your book, Playful, an ultimate guide to child safety?
So my special area of interest is pediatric critical care, pediatric emergency. One important thing that we saw in the last 20-25 years is that more from infections, a lot of children are coming to us with injuries. And these can be injuries which are kind of fall from height, road traffic accidents, swallowing some household poisons. So these are preventable injuries. So, and the magnitude of injuries is significantly higher in the world today. Almost 2,000 normal children die on this planet because of a preventable injury. That means by the time we finish this conversation in 1 hour, almost 60 normal children would have died because of a preventable injury. To create awareness about that and to make sure that the current generation of parents and anybody who's involved in childcare knows about the inherent risks around children. So, for example, a small infant who is there, as soon as he learns to crawl, he is going to start putting things in its mouth. And sometimes he will crawl towards a low-lying switch, put the hand, and then have risk of electrocution. As they grow a little older, toddler schools, or you see schools, preschool children in your own school, they are very curious and they are extremely fearless. So that's again not a great combination for injury prevention. School-going age, you will have to navigate buses, traffic, going into your apartment complex, coming back, playgrounds. And in teenage period, which is what all of you are, children are physically very strong, mentally very weak, and emotionally very labile. So there is a tendency to show off. That puts children at a different type of risk. Not only them, but sometimes when you show off or take a very powerful car for a drive, you may lose control and hit somebody. So across the age groups, the magnitude of childhood injuries is significantly increasing. And I thought using a format of book and then using digital media to create awareness about that was necessary. Because also what has happened in the last 20 years is an extreme invasion of our own homes with digital devices. And the current generation of parents are an extremely distracted generation of parents. When we were growing up, there was always somebody eyeballing us during our formative years. But now everybody is on phone and there's nobody to really eyeball the children when they are attempting something dangerous. So that has really pushed the injury profile to a very significant number. And Playful, an ultimate guide for child safety is written with that motive. It has got basically a very conversational style of writing with a lot of representative pictures which are very self-explanatory. So any young mother or a teacher of school can really relate to the situations which are there. So we have really tried to do something which is necessary, and it really correlates with my own interest in the pediatric critical care and emergency.
Thank you, Doctor. Doctor, you mentioned you had cases that came to you because of which you made this book. Is there any specific case that you could mention which led to the development of this book?
Yes, we had a 7-year-old child who was flying a kite on the terrace, and then while you're flying a kite, actually you're looking up most of the times, and you're not aware about where you're walking. And this high-rise building, the terrace walls were quite small, and then the child just went on the edge and then toppled and fell from almost 3 floors, hitting on the window ledges as well. And when he presented to the emergency, he had a shattered spleen, had a lot of internal bleeding. We had to rush him to the operation theater, control the bleeding. He was on a ventilator for a long time. So these kind of injuries, we are witness to it almost on daily basis. So instead of sitting in our hospitals trying to treat these injuries, it is better that we go out into the community and try and prevent these injuries through education and awareness. So that was the trigger.
Thank you, Doctor. So, Doctor, a lot of teenagers, especially around my age, tend to be on social media most of the time. They spend most of the time on social media and on their phones. So, what advice would you give to these teenagers to get rid of the social media addiction and to stay off screens for long periods of time?
It's an important question, but it's no easy answers also. Mainly because as teenagers, even when you are on social media, you lose track of time. Teenagers also, biologically, the brain is still developing. You have a very mature emotional response center, which is the limbic system. You do not have a very mature prefrontal cortex, which plays a very important role in decision making, in emotional regulation, in planning your tasks. So you're always on an emotional high all the time. And the technology platforms and the social media platforms know this. So they are curating content and making you doom scroll through your time with content which has got very high addictive potential, because they know how to hijack your neuroscience. And that is why it is addictive in nature. How to kind of come out of that addiction so that you are able to focus on what's essential during your teenage period, especially your academic performance, sports, co-curricular activities, is again not a very easy thing to do. What we advise teenagers, however, is that you are now moving from your parents being the cool quotient to the teachers, and then as teenage hits, you're more closer to your peers. That means your classmates, people of your own age. And those conversations which happen in that age group, which you don't want to share with your teachers and parents. You feel safe among your peers. And also, social media acts in another way, is that it makes you a very anxious generation, mainly because what you see on social media is a highly curated highlight of somebody's life. Okay, it's not real. It is fake most of the time. The happiness, the joy, the success, what you see on social media is extremely curated for presentation to the rest of the world. So then you become anxious, and then hoping that to overcome that anxiety, you go to the next reel, which is more entertainment, motivational, and then you feel good about yourself somewhat, and then you go to the next reel. So, and then because these reels are so small and curated, in the hope that you will find answers to what you're feeling at that moment when you're holding social media, you end up spending hours. And then you feel guilty about it. And how do you kill guilt? By watching some more. So this is a cycle which is not easy to come out of. So first thing is, I think, give yourself some slack. It is your developing brain which is playing up. It is also, we would say, the technology platforms which are making you addictive to this through the content which has got this addictive potential. It is more of an entertainment source rather than an education and a connecting source. Even though, we never used to take pictures of our food before eating every time, but nowadays we do that. with what joy and for what joy? You just want to demonstrate how good you are and things like that. And once you post it, again, you're anxious if you're not getting likes to that, if you're not getting commented on those means. So this vicious cycle, to come out of that, we advise the teenagers, one, to have some structure to your life, have some routine, because social media and digital screen has got effect on all aspects of life. Physical, because you are slouching, you're watching, you're having body aches, you're not moving enough. It affects your sleep because the screen cuts down the sleep hormone secretion by almost 30%. So your timing of sleep is less, you don't sleep deep enough, so every day morning you're groggy, angry, anxious. And mental health, because if you're not liked enough on social media, you always have that feeling of, am I good enough? Isn't it? So your validation and your self-esteem base is based on how the world views you through the social media, not your person-to-person interaction. So all these are difficult problems to handle. So as teenagers, my advice as a doctor would be to have a routine, and that routine should involve movement or exercise for close to 30 to 45 minutes. Be very protective of your sleep. At your age, you require 7 to 9 hours of solid sleep to be able to have good executive function, to make sure that your brain is sharp, you are switched on during class hours, and you're registering the information, and also the sleep really imprints whatever you learn through the day into the memory cells, and you're able to get it out as per need. So have a routine, and eat healthy, sleep well, and build friendships, and also stay in regular communication with elders, with mentors. We are there, teachers are there, parents are always there to talk to you. But use that opportunity to tap into that real world experience which all of us have, rather than a very curated and an artificial system on social media.
Okay. Thank you, doctor. So, doctor, I've noticed a lot of parents tend to push their kids to take fields towards the sciences like medicine, engineering, law. But a lot of students who want to take fields like humanities and arts are often neglected. What advice would you give to these students to help choose the right path so they can actually enjoy what they do in the future?
So world's changing, and even you know that the opportunities have opened up significantly for other branches of academics, humanities, arts, sports, and it is not limited to a very old traditional career paths of engineering, law, or medicine. But again, as children, as students, the things which I would say is that uh, you require one, interest and a growth mindset to understand that because of the speed of technological advances that is happening, a lot of jobs which were there, say 100 years back, have evaporated, 50 years back had gone, 20 years back had gone. So there is a lot of automation, there is a lot of artificial intelligence, analytics, which are now made possible by the new age computation powers. So the jobs which you will be working on, none of it you're studying right now in your schools. So that's why the better way of answering this or framing this is that you need to learn how to learn, and stop at that. Anything new comes, we would request you to develop that curiosity towards that science, towards that arts, so towards that field in specific. Career choices is a mix of what is the situation, what is your exposure to certain specialities, what your parents want, what is the job market in those times, what is your temperament like, and what is the lifestyle you would want to have. If you like beauty sleep, you cannot be a pediatric intensivist or an emergency physician like me, because most of our work happens in the night. So at the career choosing level, rather than choosing something, I would focus, or I would advise children to eliminate things which you definitely don't want to do. Now, out of the things which you have, uh, depending on all the factors that we discussed about, choose one and pursue that. And also be open to learning opportunities. Engineers can also take up civil services later on. Medicine, people can go into art and humanities later on. So the way it looks like for the future, you are hardly going to stick to one sphere of interest throughout your life. You're going to change fields, you're going to change jobs every 5 to 10 years. And technology is going to make that possible, both for creative fields as well as for technology or technical fields like engineering, maths, engineering, AI, medicine, and things like that. So keep your mind open. Don't get stuck into a very single track that this is what I'm going to do. There are opportunities which are opening up in country like India for choosing something out of your interest, and if you find that you're not cut out for that field, to change fields as well. So till your class 12, I think it's good to have on school exposure for all the streams, and not straight jacket yourself to a science or an arts or a commerce sphere. Talk to mentors. Voluntary work and internships really help open up a lot of dimension of choices that you have. Many of these things are imagined in your head. You think that humanities is kind of low down in the pecking order, and it's only maths and science which is high. It is not so. With AI and the technology development, all the information can be in your fingertips, and people with backgrounds in humanities, in philosophy, in history, political science, using their discretions, are going to kind of decide how we are using these technological advances, and the human race is going to be decided by this group of people rather than the engineering grads and the AI scientists. So never ever think that any specialization or any track is inferior in that sense. So there are opportunities opened up for all these specialties, and all children should be proud of choosing humanities if they have.
Thank you so much, doctor. That's all the questions I have for you.